Death at 7 a.m. Hospitals are places where life and death constantly wrestle in silence. They are places of both miracles and tragedies. But at St. Mark's General Hospital, something unusual began to stir rumors, something that made both doctors and patients whisper in fear. In the intensive care unit, where fragile breaths hung on the edge of machines, a strange pattern was noticed. Every morning, precisely at 7 a.m., one patient in bed 4 would pass away. It didn't matter if the patient was young, old, stable, or even showing signs of recovery. At the exact hour, death struck. At first, people dismissed it as a coincidence. The body has its rhythms, one doctor explained. But after the 4th consecutive death, coincidence no longer seemed convincing. By the 10th, the staff had become uneasy. Nurses avoided the ward around that time, and families of patients prayed feverishly when their loved ones were assigned to the dreaded bed. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said the bed was cursed. Others whispered that a ghost of a former patient still lingered, claiming souls at the break of dawn. More spiritual-minded staff brought crosses, holy water, and prayer books to keep evil forces away. The less superstitious ones prepared their cameras, tablets, and smartphones to capture the truth, whatever it was. So, one chilly morning, a group of doctors and nurses gathered secretly in the ward. The air was tense, heavy with the mix of antiseptic smell and fear. Machines beeped rhythmically, patients dozed quietly, and yet everyone's eyes were fixed on bed 4. The clock ticked. 6:59 a.m. Every second felt like an eternity. Some clutched rosaries, others tightened their grip on cameras, fingers trembling. Then, as the clock struck 7 a.m., the ward door creaked slowly open. Hearts pounded. A few whispered prayers under their breath. And then she appeared. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a demon. It wasn't even death in some frightening form. It was Mama Shakira, the hospital cleaner. A woman in her 50s, short, round-faced, wrapped in her faded uniform, and carrying her cleaning bucket with the calm confidence of routine. She looked completely ordinary. The staff froze, exchanging confused glances. Mama Shakira walked straight to the wall socket near bed 4. Without so much as a glance at the patients, she unplugged the life support machine, and plugged in her old Nokia phone charger. The room exploded in chaos. "Jesus Christ!" One nurse screamed. "Madam, what are you doing?" A doctor shouted, rushing forward. Another dropped his rosary in shock while the skeptical doctors scrambled with cameras, recording the scene in disbelief. Mama Shakira looked up, startled. What happened? My phone is always low. I only charge it for 15 minutes while I sweep." The doctors could not believe it. For weeks, they had been attributing mysterious deaths to curses, ghosts, or supernatural forces, only to discover it was the cleaner unknowingly killing patients by cutting off their life support just to charge her phone. The silence that followed was deafening. Then came the wave of emotions. Anger, shock, frustration. One doctor buried his face in his hands. Another began to laugh bitterly, shaking his head at the absurdity. The chaplain who had been praying furiously sat down, stunned at the revelation. But beyond the shock, the incident raised a profound truth about life. Sometimes what we interpret as fate, curses, or supernatural interference are nothing more than human ignorance, carelessness, or negligence. The deaths had not been the work of an unseen hand, but the casual indifference of someone who thought her phone battery mattered more than a human life. Mama Shakira was detained immediately, of course. An investigation followed. But the bigger question haunted the hospital. How many tragedies in the world do we blame on fate, when the cause is simply negligence? How many prayers are offered up for problems that could be solved with awareness, training, and responsibility? Weeks later, the hospital implemented strict safety protocols. Sockets in the ICU were secured, and staff were retrained. But the memory of that morning never left them. Doctors spoke of it often, not with laughter but with deep reflection. Families of patients mourned the unnecessary losses. And Mama Shakira herself, when questioned, simply said, "I didn't know. I only wanted to make sure my phone was ready in case my son called." In that moment, everyone realized how fragile human life truly is, not only because of disease or destiny, but because of the small, careless actions that ripple into catastrophe. The incident was told to new staff in the hospital, as a cautionary tale. Sometimes, death does not arrive on black wings at midnight. Sometimes, death comes quietly at 7 a.m. Wearing a cleaner's uniform, holding a phone charger. Thank you very much for watching.